2 weeks. Just kidding. It's been like 2 weeks since I made a video. And so I just wanted to check in because it's early morning. I'm driving. I'm feeling thoughtful. And I've got 15 whole minutes before I get to where I need to go. So figured it was a good time to check in and kind of let you know what I'm doing. Oh my gosh, that guy's like metal back of his tire was just sparking on the road, about to fly off. That was crazy. Okay, anyway, what have we been up to? So much. Let's see, where do I start? Number one, probably the most important, is that we've made a dramatic change to, like, the demo. We're still doing underwater, like our underwater area, but right now we've decided to add in, like, about 5 days ago, we decided, like, underwater is a little boring, and, like, what do we really do to make this feel unique? And one of the things we kind of landed on is, like, old, drowned, ancient prison underwater kind of thing. I don't know if it's going to stick 100%. We're still, like, thinking about the idea, but it has inspired, like, a whole new series of, like, artwork pieces and stuff, especially because we're trying to figure out, like, it's not your normal prison. It's perhaps where people used to be stored until something kind of terrible would happen to them. I'm not sure. I have to think about if I'm going to tell you or not. We have to decide if it's like a spoiler or not. So it might be more fun to, like, figure it out on your own. But if it's the route we're going with, I'm really excited about it. And at the end, there will be some sort of, like, boss fight. Now, that's another thing we're struggling with right now. It's like, the other day, I was just sort of messing around trying to think, like, what would we fight at the end of this? Like, what is everything being, like, structured in this prison to present as a final enemy? And I drew this thing. Gosh, it's so hard not just to, you know, like, tell, if you know anything, I am not a good secret keeper. Oh my gosh, I'm just, like, my friend, we were throwing a surprise party and stuff for him. I like, blew it, like, 4 days after I started planning it. I'm the worst at secrets. But anyway, what am I trying to say? I drew this boss, and he's not a human-looking thing. And so now Matthew and I have to decide, are all of our enemies vibrance people? Like, people who have powers? Because we definitely want that to be a feature, because that seems super interesting and, you know, part of the main core of our game. Or are there also, like, vibrance, or not even vibrance, but, like, beings out there? So you're not just fighting people. Like, are there monsters? Are there, like, vibrance animals? Are there whatever? I know there have to be something else, because as you're like, you know, walking around the world and stuff, obviously you don't just have vibrance people, like, every 5 feet trying to hurt you. That just doesn't make sense from a plot perspective. So we just have to figure out if we just want them to be minor enemies, or if we want them to be, like, mini bosses or bosses in some of the areas too, and then what that does to our world. It's been really interesting, because in the beginning of this, we started with just the script. We basically were trying to write a book, but in a video game form, like, with minimal dialogue, but, like, same story progression and all of that. And that was more my comfort zone, because I've written before, and that felt right. But when it's turned out to feel better doing, like, we recently flipped it to do, okay, let's develop this area, because we have to have this demo done, and we have to, you know, go for that, so let's do this as well as possible. And I almost like it better. Like, I almost like the idea of us creating all the different areas, like, defining the world first, and then developing Silver around that. Because theoretically, the world would exist before Silver does, and she would interact with the world because the world gives her cues and is what it is. So it provides, like, a little bit more context and stuff. pirate ship or like shipwreck thing down in the jail. And you know, I'm just having a hard time. Like I've been watching videos and learning about like stretch and whatever that's called, where like when the ball touches the ground it like expands, even though that wouldn't necessarily happen in real life, and then it comes back up and like gets more narrow. Like I'm trying to mess around with that concept, as well as volume preservation, as well as all of these different like 12 rules to animation type things. And you know, it's not going well, but there's good news. Our game is not just going to fall flat because I take years and really struggle with animation. Matthew is really good at it. I'm so proud of him, and I'm so excited because like it felt like such a big step. He made Silver walk. She can walk now. Like she exists. She walks across a page. She looks really fluid. Like it's really well done animation. Like we were watching a couple of other games, like we watched Shantae and we watched Monster Boy, and I actually like his animation better than Shantae's. Now Hollow Knight to me is like the end all be all for the animation. I love the fluidity in there. I think they did a wonderful job. But one thing you don't really think about is that like Hollow Knight doesn't really have hands and stuff like that. So one thing we're still working on for sure is trying to give her hands that look natural. Because honestly, most of the ones that I see, I don't really like, and Matthew doesn't either. And so we want to figure out how to make her look natural, and because we don't have a great example of how to do that, honestly, so much of our work is based off of examples. Like, even when I'm doing art, a lot of times I'll take like a source image and initially like use, like I'll put it in the corner, or I'll even trace it if it's like a rock wall or something, and then we'll change it for our purposes. Like usually it's like a real life object, or like let's say I'm trying to draw an alligator. I'll literally get like an alligator and I'll trace it, and then voice crack, you're welcome. I'll edit it from there. So like one of our potential sea enemies right now, just like things that you fight in like the deep, and I think this will change because it looks real creepy. And I don't know, like we need like cartoon creepy, but not necessarily like, oh no, these are body parts that got like mashed together kind of creepy. So it's an alligator mixed with a jellyfish with like a little like light on its head, like the anglerfish or whatever that's called. And because of the way I do drawing, and by do drawing, I mean sometimes I actually draw it, but a lot of times if it's like a difficult thing like that I've never drawn before, I'll take those three animals in real life or whatever, and I'll trace them. And then I kind of shove them together and zhuzh and, you know, do all of that until it looks good. But that made it look a little too real, a little horrific. Like, I'm not saying this actually looks real. Like, it's line art, for goodness sakes. And, you know, I have a very specific style in that way. It's, like, very cartoony. But it's cartoony without any of, like, the exaggerated features right now. So I think we need to give it, like, really big eyes and, like, maybe, like, crazy overlapping teeth or something that are, like, excessively large to look a little bit faker, I guess. And then I don't know how I'm gonna make the like tendrils from the jellyfish part look more natural, or not natural, more like cartoony and fun, or if we just need to remove them entirely and just make it like a really weird alligator with the lantern thing on its head. But I really like the idea of it being mixed with the jellyfish so that it can go above you, like, and then if you get caught in its little like tendril things that go down, you get shocked and you get hurt. Like, I think that adds more of like a stage barrier and like stage danger than if you were to just do the weird alligator thing. And I think it makes less sense that he's in the ocean too. I know alligators aren't in the ocean, blah blah blah, I understand, but we wanted like weirder enemies than just like, oh, shark and like squid and like eel, whatever. So I kind of threw that in there. I don't know if we'll stick with it, but that's at least kind of where we are right now. I also like that if we did the teeth thing, that would potentially like play into the anglerfish a little bit more, since we do have that like little weird floopy thing on the head. So that's fun. What else have I been doing? I drew the gears for the prism, and it looked like saw blades. They look like really good saw blades. So I edited that, and now they look like gears, so that's fun. I drew kind of the beginning, like, boss room idea, and that was really fun. I like a lot of it, though, of course, it was just, like, in Procreate, so it needs to actually be put on the Unity stage. I drew a whale skeleton yesterday. I don't know, we've just been doing a lot of work. It's officially September 2nd today, and we have until October 1st to get our demo up and running. So the priorities we have are animating Silver so she can walk around, finishing the stage so that she has something to walk around in, and then after that, adding either the small enemies or adding a big one. I don't know which one it's going to be yet. I don't know that we're going to have time to animate like all of it, so we're going to have to pick and choose. And especially because I think Silver is going to take 3/4 of the month animating her to do more than just walk. She's got to jump. She's got to, have at least a basic attack, probably more. It's going to be a bit of a trek, so we've got to figure that out. It's crazy. You would think a month would feel like enough time, but here we are, and honestly, I already feel like the time constraints and stuff like that, and part of that is because we're still baby game developers. Like, there's a lot we're having to learn and take a while with, versus like if you do this all the time, I'm sure you can do it much more quickly. Like, one thing I've been watching a YouTube channel called Drawfee, where they basically get prompts and then they draw really quickly, or they do a speed drawing and then they play it really quickly, and some of the art they can come up with in like 30 minutes is insane to me. Like, it would take me like 8.5 hours, maybe longer, and so part of me knows that this is just something that will come more easily with time, is the good news, but I don't think that that's like 100% the case. Like, I know you've got to have some element of skill there, and I think both of us have shown that we at least have potential, and so we've just got to figure out like how to make the most of that and get this thing going, because it's a lot. Creating a game is really, really a lot, and the more I think about it, the more grateful I am that I'm doing it with someone, because I think if I were doing this alone, I'd feel super disheartened, and honestly, like, a lot less, what am I trying to say? Oh my gosh, the word is on the tip of my tongue, but it is 7 a.m. and so it is only on the tip of my tongue and not in my brain. Versatility is the only word in my head, but I'm trying to think of the word that basically means like you can bounce back really easily. That's gonna drive me nuts. But anyway, I'm just working on all that. We also formed our LLC, so that was exciting, or at least we're currently in the midst of paying someone to form our LLC for us. And Studio Grumble was free, so we are going with that. And when I say free, I mean like no one had taken it. Now we don't have to pay money. I wish that were the case. Just so you know, as far as costs so far, at least for us, starting the LLC through my CPA cost $400 for us, and we are planning on proposing to the composer, based on the rates that he gave us, that for the bulk creation of everything, of about 30 songs, if we end up hiring him, we're going to propose $5,000 and then a very small stake in the company's profits when we first go live. So I'm hopeful that that will end up being a good solution for everyone. That $5,000, I mean, it's a lot of money in a way, and it's also not a lot of money, right? For us as an indie creator, obviously, like, spending that out the gate before we have any proof of profits or whatever is definitely scary, and it's not necessarily something I would recommend that everyone does. Luckily, Matthew and I are both in a financial position where that's okay, although still not exciting, you know, to spend $5,000 on it. But I also would say that that our guy, if he does great work, is probably being, like, slightly underpaid, with the exception of if that profit piece comes into play and does well, I think he'll end up being overpaid, but aka paid fairly, because I would so much rather overpay someone than underpay, but at the same time, like, because we have no proof of profit in this, we can only invest so much. So we've got $5,000 there, $400 for this, for starting the LLC. I paid someone to vectorize our logo, and that was, I think, $40, and I just used someone on Fiverr. They did a fine job. It wasn't anything crazy. And then I'm currently paying for the YouTube intro, which I'm actually talking with them right now. I don't know if I like the one that's going to be in front of all these videos, but at a certain point, like, I'm also like, you've just got to post them. Like, you've been saving up all these videos and just waiting on that. Just freaking post them. You can always change it later if people don't like it, or if you don't like it, or whatever. So, you know, we'll see. So those are all of our costs so far. So 40 plus 40, 80, 480, 5,480 are what it's looking like our costs will be, for the production of the game if we don't out hire anything else. Now, I think stuff comes up, and we may end up having to hire outside, or, you know, pay for other small projects or whatever. But I don't plan on being full in any more than $8,000, I would say. And, you know, most indie games, they don't do great. So that could just be $8,000, like, spent on a very expensive hobby. But that's part of why I want to, like, start sharing this journey and, you know, marketing hard as well, because it's gonna suck if we create this amazing game that is really playable and fun and exciting, but then no one plays it. So, you know, that's gonna be a huge piece of the puzzle to actually get people engaged that we're gonna have to learn, just like everything else. Anyway, I'm where I need to be. I've gotta jump out of the car, run into the grocery store really quickly, and then go to an appointment. But I just wanted to check in with you guys. I hope you're all having a really good day. And thanks for sticking with this. If this is the first video you've seen, this is kind of what we do here. We sit in the car. I chat for too long about what it actually feels like to make a game, because I see all these dev vlogs and they're awesome. I really enjoyed watching them. But a lot of them are just about, like, the process in a weird way, and not so much about all of the logistics. Like, we're not here for polished. This is not the polished, you know, series. We'll put out our own, like, ones with great visuals and, like, I'm sure videos of us doing cool things while I do this voice overview. But this is just, like, this is what's going on. I mean, so hopefully it's interesting. And if it's not, at least it's a record of the ups and downs and craziness and what steps we took when, and all the things that I will totally forget in, like, a month. So anyway, I will talk to you guys soon. I hope you're having a great day, and thanks for joining us for another vlog. Bye.